I taught my lesson on finding out how many groups of tens there are in three-digit numbers for a student who was struggling with place value. For this first worksheet, I modeled how to find how many groups of 10 there were in 320 using base 10 blocks, and then the student drew out how many groups of 10 there were to get 32. Here the student was able to draw correctly how many groups of 10 there were in 320. And then the student did the same thing by herself for the second problem to get the correct answer of 65 groups of 10. I then gave the student this worksheet, how many tens, to do independently. The student started on the right track with problem 1, but then once she drew everything out, she just added 30 plus 5 plus 6 to get the 41 groups of 10 that she wrote up here. The student then realized that she made a mistake because that didn't make sense. So then she realized that she had 35 groups here, and she thought that this group of 6 ones would just count as another group, so she made 36 groups of 10 instead of 35 groups of 10, which should be the right answer, and 6 single pennies would be left over. The student happened to make the same issue in problem number 2 by just counting the group of 8 ones as another group of 10 to have 47 groups instead of 46 groups with 8 left over as the single ones. If I am looking at the 4-point rubric used in the Van de Waal textbook, I would score the student with a 2, which is partial accomplishment. I would say the student is at a 2 because she does understand how many tens there are in hundreds and the tens place of three-digit numbers, but she does not understand the concept of the ones place because she's counting them as just a group of 10. When we completed the problems together a second time and used the base 10 blocks, she was able to get the answer correct and state how many ones would be left over with actually using the manipulatives. In the Van de Waal textbook, it was stated to have a variety of materials available for the students, so I made sure she had paper and pencil, which is where she completed this work. I also made sure she had a whiteboard and marker, which she was also drawing out pictures on, and I also gave her base 10 blocks and a place value chart, which she used after she attempted to draw out these pictures. For this student, I basically did a formative assessment. I observed her as she completed the 2 problems on her own and identified her misconception of place value, and then addressed the misconception and completed the problem again with her using the base 10 blocks so she had a better understanding. As stated in the Van de Waal textbook, formative assessments dramatically increase the speed and amount of student learning. I used the students' results and evidence to improve the instruction. I also made sure the student could explain to me how she received the answer the second time so I knew she actually understood what she was doing. When we completed these 2 problems again the second time together, using the base 10 blocks, the student realized that when she did the 300 and then the 50, that was 35 tens, and then she saw that when she had the 6 cubes out together, that did not equal 10, so that is what had to be left over, so that could not count as a group of 10. And she also did the same thing when we looked at this second problem, and she was able to explain to me how she noticed that this was not a group of 10 because there was only 8 single pieces there. In our textbook, Van de Waal states that a significant challenge when using the pre-grouped physical models occurs when students have not had adequate experiences with groupable models first. There's the potential for students to use them without reflecting on the 10-to-1 relationships, which is what happened with this student in these problems right here. Van de Waal also states to use electronic versions of the base 10 manipulative so students could use simple mouse clicks to place ones, tens, hundreds, or thousands on the screen. This would then be my next step for this student